I'm wearing a bow tie in Cologne. Is it safe?
Well, I mean, today's Wednesday, Carnival just stopped last night, but just to be on the safe side, I brought you a Carnival bow tie cutting deflector.
That is extremely kind.
So, this is yours.
Mm-hmm.
I was awarded this medal 2 weeks ago at a Carnival session.
Right.
There you go.
Thank you.
And I'm also going to wear one, just in case.
They look quite flamboyant.
Don't they?
It's my way of saying ridiculous.
Oh, that is very kind of you, but you're still welcome and you will see they work. No one is going to come and cut your bow tie.
No one will cut my bow tie. I'm safe.
No worries, you're safe.
I can understand Brazilians having a carnival. They can dance. What do the Germans do? They must do like a robot dance.
The robot is not in fashion anymore. At the moment we have the 2 steps. So right step, left step, right step, left step. That's what we do at the moment. But in Cologne, it's not really about dancing, it's all about singing. We have the regional carnival songs, and you actually have a meeting in early November when Carnival starts, where you work on the new Carnival songs. So there's a big group and you get all the lyrics, and then you can see which songs you like and learn them by heart. So once Rosenmontag, Monday, the main day comes around, you're standing there and you're singing and you're doing a great job.
And can they sing?
I mean, there's a melody, there's a text, not necessarily the right melody and the right text, but there's a lot of feeling involved. It comes from the heart.
I'll talk about CEMS, to just change the subject.
Yep.
You're one of the founding members of CEMS.
Yes, University of Cologne was one of the founders, and one of the people who really pushed ahead CEMS here in Cologne, Professor Delfmann, was just awarded personal membership, which was a great honor for both Cologne and him personally at the last annual meeting.
But Cologne helped found CEMS.
Mm-hmm.
Is CEMS better now? They have a higher ranking.
Is CEMS better now? I mean, CEMS certainly is more international now than it was when it started. It started off as a small European network of business schools, and it's actually grown to involve schools from Southern America, from Canada. We have a school in Russia which is part of the network now. So it's moved from a European network towards a global network.
And the CEMS program is ranked 2,
Mm-hmm.
which is a bit higher than the Cologne program. Are they
Slightly,
competing with you?
Slightly. No. We're not competing with one another. The way we're offering CEMS here in Cologne at the moment is as an add-on degree to what we have here. So you would study a master in business administration with, say, a major in finance, or you would follow a master in economics, and you could additionally apply for the CEMS program. So we're offering it at the moment on top of our master's programs.
Is that additional time?
Yes, it is. It
How
is
long?
additional time. Usually don't take longer until you graduate, but your workload is slightly higher. So for example, in the CEMS program, you have a business project where in the final summer term, where you're following your master's program, you have something like a consulting project with a group of international students. You apply for a consulting project within a firm. One of the corporate partners of CEMS could be Henkel or any firm from ABB to Zurich Financial Services. You get a real life problem, you work on it, you come up with a solution with the support from your academic advisor, and then you pitch it to high level management in the firm you've worked for.
So but to clarify, CEMS students have more work.
Yes.
Does that mean that they're masochists or they're smarter?
Neither. They're not masochists because they get something out of it. They don't do it for the pure pain. What they do get is an additional certificate which shows that apart from the functional master they followed, they also know something about international management. And what we have in the CEMS program is a mandatory term abroad at one of the CEMS partner schools. So you could be going to nice places like Brazil and attend the carnival there. or maybe less pleasant places like Cologne and come here and celebrate Carnival in Cologne when you're from a school abroad.
I'm not sure that the two-step is going to be enough for Brazil.
Yeah, that's why we have a lot of dancing schools here in Cologne. There's a mandatory samba class, not really. What they get out of it, I think, is simply a lot of experience internationally. There's also a mandatory internship abroad, and I think getting this cross-cultural experience, getting this exposure in a foreign international company, in a foreign country, for example, working in an international company in Beijing with very little Mandarin, and finding your way around in such an environment is something that these students value.
I'm sold on the idea of CEMS, and everything you just described is the reason I'd like CEMS. But why do CEMS from Cologne?
So at the moment you would be doing CEMS from Cologne because you can pursue this functional master and do CEMS as an add-on. But doing it from Cologne per se, I think, is attractive because we here in Cologne are in a very strong geographical region. We're the only CEMS school in Germany. So if you wanted to study in Germany, have access to this large economy, then you would have to come to Cologne. But I also think there are a lot of upsides from studying in Cologne, even if you didn't do the CEMS program, even if you did not follow this international management program. I think what you get in Cologne, and I really think of that as our unique selling point here, is a very interdisciplinary education in the faculty, in the department. We are one joint faculty with business administration, economics, and social sciences. And we've very carefully created the program that starts in 2015 to allow students to make most of all of these different departments. So combine business administration with economics, combine economics with social sciences, really find your combination that will allow you to find and pursue your career goals.
The competitors are offering pure business. There's a business studies department, management department. Isn't this watered down, social sciences, economics, I don't know what else, at the same time as business? Wouldn't it be better for me to focus?
I mean, there's an upside to that. I won't deny that, and I can't deny that. There's an upside to a very pure focus. But when you're thinking about what makes people successful in a world that's becoming more and more complex, is not having one single skill and having that honed down to perfection. What you need is people who can work in fluctuating and challenging environments that don't look the same today as they do tomorrow. And I think that's what you get when you combine different approaches. Don't only do finance, but do finance with monetary policy, because that will allow you to understand how the Federal Reserve Bank should react to a financial crisis.
What do you mean when you say functional masters?
Functional master is a term we use here in Cologne for a master that has a focus on one of the business administration areas we have here, and that would be accounting, finance, corporate development, marketing, and supply chain management. So you would have a focus on one of these areas and then combine a minor from any other area with this type of master. So we don't have a general management degree in this functional area. The general management degree we will be offering from 2015, when the new accreditation here in Cologne goes through, is going to be international management. So we will turn the current CEMS add-on into its own international management program.
So for the moment, CEMS is a general management add-on to a functional master.
It's an international management add-on to a functional master program.
And when you change over to having your own international management program, will that be the same as the CEMS program, or will there be two programs?
So the plan is that we will have a 2-year master's program for international management, exactly the same way we have it now for the other business administration majors: finance, supply chain management, corporate development. And the second year of this master is going to be your CEMS year. During this year, you will do one term abroad, like you do it now in your functional master with a CEMS add-on. And you will also have your internship and those courses which basically prepare you for a career in international management, such as cross-cultural courses, courses for responsible global leadership, and so on.
I can do CEMS in 1 year.
Yes.
In a lot of places.
Yes.
So in this future scenario, why would I do a 2-year Masters in International Management with CEMS when I could do that program in a year?
The difference is that in Cologne, you don't only do international management, but you also have a minor. So you can combine a major in international management, which also means that you're following the CEMS program, with a minor in any of the business administration areas.
Normally the barrier for me to study for 2 years would be the cost. I understand that's not the case.
The University of Cologne is a public university, and we don't charge study fees. We have an administrative fee, but it is on a very low level when you compare us to our peers in the German-speaking areas, also to private universities in Germany.
So is there anything else I should know about the fact that you're a public university?
I do think that being a public university gives a different educational approach to what we're doing. I mean, I'm a public servant. The state pays me. I'm not paid, not even indirectly, by a firm. So our approach here should be that we do what's good for society, and I think this is one of the buzzwords here also in the faculty of business administration, economics, social sciences, innovation for society. We basically have a mandate by the public to educate students, and apart from the fact that it's free, it also means that we try to educate students to take a responsible role, not only in businesses but also in public institutions, to take a responsible stance if they become entrepreneurs themselves. So see the bigger picture. Don't only do business administration for the sake of business administration, but what are the implications for society?
Is business a public concern or a private sector concern?
Both. It's both. I mean, you cannot have a functioning economy without strong and successful businesses. And I think something we have here in the Cologne area is really a very diversified business community. We're not only strong in finance, even though we are strong in finance. Cologne is a big place for insurance company. AXA, Gotha, they all have their main headquarters here in Cologne. So naturally there's a lot of asset management going on. But we also have the automotive industry. Ford has a big production site here in Cologne. And something that probably goes right down your avenue is we have a lot of media here in Cologne. We have the RTL group, which has several TV networks. We have a big publication sector here with the Dumont print.
Surely, to get into one of these great companies or institutions, they need to know that you can do something. If I come with a wonderful track record of research, that may not translate into action.
Something we're trying to offer to our students in the master's program, basically from the first semester, is advice for their professional career as well. We have a career center at the university level, but we also have a career center at the department level, where we have ties to all different types of corporate partners at the university level and at the departmental level. And we have exciting events with these corporate partners.
Exciting for who?
Exciting for everyone. So for example, when L'Oreal comes here and works with students on gamification strategies for HR, even I find that exciting because I get to play little games and see what kind of job I could be getting at L'Oreal.
Is it worth it?
It was a lot of fun, and there was a gift certificate involved. I didn't win it, unfortunately. We also try to bring practical education to the classroom from the professorial level and from the teaching level per se. Something I do in my class on fixed income management is I ask students to detect manipulation strategies in interest rates. So when you think about the LIBOR scandal, I try to teach my students how do I detect things like that. How do I see that my trading partner is trying to rip me off by manipulating interest rates.
But I might also realize that my own organization is doing that.
Yes.
You're creating some dangerous graduates.
But that is exactly what we're trying to do, innovation for society, not innovation for an individual corporation.
But are you building whistleblowers?
Hopefully.
Meeting the challenge of complexity, does that mean things are just confused?
They're confusing, but they're not confused. And what we're trying to do here is to bring order into this confusion, but accept that the world is changing fast, and that within a corporation, within the public sector, no matter where you are, you will have to face a quickly changing environment and adapt yourself to that. And what we're trying to give students is the right toolbox to survive in this complex world.
Who is your competition?
Competition? We do not have competition. We have peers. We do not have competition. So I think in the closer area in Germany, I would say Mannheim and Frankfurt are the peers we are comparing ourselves to. Then in the German-speaking world, WU Wien, St. Gallen would be, I think, our two main peers. And then at a broader level, I don't know, Berkeley, Stanford, NYU.
And an advantage you have over some of those schools is that you're free.
Absolutely. Over most of these schools.
But say St. Gallen is also a CEMS partner, and it's also a public university, so it's free.
Not necessarily.
Okay. So in the German speaking, but that clearly isn't the only differentiation. You're a bit older than other universities.
Absolutely. 1388. Famous guy from Cologne, Albertus Magnus. He's the one we're tracing the university back to. So we are going back a bit.
Was there a management department in 1388?
And well, absolutely, because Albertus Magnus was actually one of the first people who said that education has to be comprehensive. You can't only learn theology, but you need to apply what you learn to the world you're living in. And I think this is really something that we're still proud of today, that knowledge has to be applied. It's not pure theory, it's what you're doing with it that counts.
Finance is, however, extremely theoretical.
Oh no, it's extremely practical. I would completely disagree. So one thing I like about finance is that most of the issues I'm faced with in my research, in my teaching, are extremely practical. So when I look at market microstructure in my research, I have a model to guide my research. But then I look at real problems that traders face in the market every day. What happens if I submit a large order? How is liquidity renewed? That's a problem that all the asset managers here in Cologne have to work with every day.
The thing about the too big to fail is what I'm thinking about, that in the recent recession, a lot of people who had a background in finance or qualifications in finance were redundant, and the sophistication of their skills wasn't useful outside of a quite specific world. Is there a chance that I could study finance and find that it's kind of redundant?
It depends on what you're focusing in your education. So I think in finance it would be the wrong approach to only teach students what's in the market today and only give them skills that are current. You need to give them, again, maybe a toolbox that allows them to derive the right solution for a problem that hasn't been there 5 years ago. Take credit derivatives, which many people claim are at the heart of the financial crisis. Those were new products in the 1990s, and clearly some of the issues we faced were because valuation techniques were used that were simply not appropriate for these types of contracts.
Frankfurt is a name synonymous with finance. Even if the rankings show that Cologne does well, isn't it going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy that if you want to get into that world, you would go to that place?
I don't think so. I think it actually depends on what you learn and what you do with what you learned on the job. So, do you find the right education for the job you want to pursue? This is what you need to decide on. And if you compare, for example, the education in Frankfurt to the education in Mannheim, which is my own alma mater, so I might be biased here a bit, then I think there are pros and cons for both of these schools, just like there are pros and cons for Cologne.
Why do you want international students?
We don't necessarily want international students, we want good students. We want really the best students to come to Cologne and make the best of what we have to offer. This interdisciplinary approach we're pursuing here is what we want to open to students from all over the world, because there's no reason that a student who comes from Sofia or who comes from Beijing would not exactly want the kind of education we're offering, would not exactly have a great benefit from what we're doing here. And I think by making ourselves attractive for international students from all over the world, we can only improve the quality of our student body. And there's no natural birthright for someone from Cologne to pursue a master here. We'll recruit people for our program regardless of their country of origin or where they got their primary education, their bachelor's degree.
I'm not sure the statistics support that, though, because something like 80% of the students are German.
Yes, but not 80% of the students are from Cologne. And with the changes we're working on for the new degree programs in 2015, we hope to get a higher proportion of applicants from all over the world. One of the issues we have at the moment is that some of the master's degree are hard to follow in English exclusively. So because we don't offer all courses in English, and because the current requirement by the state is that you speak German at a certain level to enter university, except for when there's a pure international degree, this limits our proportion of international students.
Can I study the degree now all in English?
You can, but you don't have the same type of flexibility that you have when you speak some German. So for example, assume that you're interested in the German savings and loan bank sector. We offer courses on the German savings and loan bank sector, but because all the regulation is in German and it's a particular German phenomenon, the class is in German as well. So you would be unable to follow some of the courses if you don't speak any German.
And in the future, with the new setup?
It's still going to be some of the classes which are going to be in German. The degree of flexibility will improve, but for some classes it makes very little sense to teach them in English.
There's something in the prospectus that says creating diversity for students. But is it diverse if the program is weighted towards German or German speaking, at least in having the full variety of options? If 80% of the students are coming from Germany, if everyone has to have a bachelor's in business or economics to even get in, that doesn't sound like a very diverse group.
But it actually is. It actually is a very diverse group. So some of the students which I have in my classes might be of German origin, but they studied for their bachelor's degree in the Netherlands or in the US or in some other country. And so this gives some degree of diversity, even when the student's country of origin is a German-speaking country. We get great students from Eastern Europe or from Asia. We also get great students from France, from the UK, from Spain, who speak some German and who actually come to Germany in order to improve their language skills, because we have very attractive employers here in the area of Cologne, but also in Germany generally. And I think that if you live in a country and you want to work in a country for a certain amount of time, knowing some of the language is going to be a plus. But I also think that the German students profit from the diversity this creates. I mean, when you think about the cross-cultural experience you're gaining when you're in a group with a Chinese student and an American student and a student from France and a student from Spain, and you need to get a project done on time. You have no one who leads the team as an external advisor, but you need to self-organize. I really think that this adds value not only to the students who come here and who want to get exposure to whatever Germany and Cologne have to offer, but also to the students who are here and who are getting this international flavor.
Let's say my first degree is in social sciences. Now, this is a department of social sciences, economics and business. So can I get in to a finance master's?
If you have a first degree in social sciences, it would depend on whether you've done any classes on business administration and economics. There's a minimum number of credits you need to have in business administration and in economics to apply for the masters in business administration. Otherwise, you can't get in. And we've decided to pursue this strategy because 2 years, even though some people might disagree, is not a long time for a master's degree. If you want to give people both a breadth of knowledge and go into a sufficient depth within each of the topics that we are offering here, you need to move fast. And when you need to lay the foundations of business administration, I don't think that you will get the most out of it. So what we're trying to do here is really get students who have a similar level of education, of prior education, and then get them into the topic as quickly and as deeply as we can, so we're not wasting anyone's time.
We're talking about a 2-year study period. I could do an MBA, I could do a master's in management, I could do a certain kind of functional master's, MSc. Does it really make any difference what I study? If I do some kind of master's in the business area, then I can probably schmooze my way into a good job.
I won't deny that your interpersonal skills probably have a lot to do with how your career path goes on. But when you're thinking about your education, then you're making decisions that are not easily to reverse. I mean, it's like education is an illiquid asset, right? You're making a decision, then you're following a degree, and then it's very hard to reverse this decision quickly again, because you've made some decisions, you've invested time and money, because you need living expenses even in Cologne, on following this educational track. So I think you need to make sure in the very beginning that what you're doing is what's right for you. And what we're offering here is a big degree of flexibility in what you're choosing. So you start off with a major in finance, and then you combine this with a minor in social sciences or social empirical research. You start off with a major in economics, and you combine this with a minor in health management, and then get into health policy, for example. So I think what we're offering here is, even though the investment is fixed, even though it's hard to reverse, is a big degree of flexibility. You can really get out of your education almost any combination you like.
One of the reasons for the flexibility is that you're big.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is I'm not going to have so much personal attention.
I don't know about that. So the whole university has around 50,000 students, and in the faculty, business administration, economics, social sciences, I think 8,500 students. So that sounds like a lot. But all our master tracks are limited to 50 students per year. So we accept 50 students per year, which means on average you will be in a group of 50 students. And 50 students, let me tell you, that's not a lot. When you're sitting in my derivatives class and you're chatting with your neighbor, I know your name. And I will tell you what's so fascinating about this, Nathan. Can you please share this with the entire class? Of course, the seating charts do help, since we all teach more than one class. But I do think that you get a lot of interaction with the professors, even in this lecture style courses we're offering. But of course, we are aware that sitting there and listening to your professor go on and on and on about a topic is not the best way to learn. So we're offering a lot of interactive types of teaching. For example, we have business projects where you get a real life problem. In my lectures where I don't have business projects because I don't find a good corporate partner who will support this in the way that I think it should be supported, not only have students as cheap labor, but as someone who learns something, who contributes, we set real life problems for the student. For example, we tell them, put yourself into the role of a financial advisor. Those are the 5 people you need to advise. What's good for them? What are the pros? What are the cons? So we give students an opportunity to work either by themselves or in groups and then stand in front of their peers and present their results and be challenged on it.
But do they do real live corporate consultancy?
They do. They do real life corporate consultancy. For example, we have projects every year in the summer term. For example, last year we had projects with Henkel, with L'Oreal. We also have projects with more social partners, Transparency International, Care International, Fair Trade, where students get a real life problem from a corporation, from an NGO, and they work on finding a solution, and then this solution is implemented in the NGO or in the firm.
Actually, the 3 social partners you just mentioned are all CEMS social partners. It strikes me that one of the advantages of CEMS could be that it plugs that link to real life. It is a university, it is big, you are research orientated, but at least with CEMS there's some input from the real world. Is that the case?
CEMS offers input from the real world, from the business world, from the NGOs to students who follow international management. But the university has corporate partners apart from CEMS. So for example, when we're offering a project with Lufthansa, this has nothing to do with CEMS, it's actually a university corporate partner. And we have many cooperations between the different departments in the business administration area and firms. So for example, take Sauren, which I was mentioning before, or Flossbach von Storch, who are asset management companies, small boutique asset management companies who are based here in Cologne. We have students who work with them. Saal Oppenheim, which was just taken over by Deutsche Bank. I had an excursion with my students from the fixed income management class into their bond management department. And
I imagine lots of little clones of James Bond walking around.
Sounds good, but actually there were more Bloomberg terminals where traders look at what's going on in the market, rating programs going on and giving the value of the different bond portfolios that are being held there.
What do you call a deer with no eyes?
A deer with no eyes? I don't have the foggiest notion.
I've no idea.
Ah!
We're doing that to test if Germans have a sense of humor.
It's probably funnier when you're a native English speaker.
But do Germans have a sense of humor?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the carnival again.
I think you have to have a sense
again.
of humor if you're in a business department in a public university.
You do have, but if you had been here on Thursday, you would have seen me running around with a flamingo hat and no one looked at me funny. So maybe it's seeing the humor in everyday life that's the forte here in Cologne.
Is there one thing that you really would love to change about the functional master's programs?
I think I would like to decrease the complexity for the students. It's something we've been working on to create go-to points for the student where they don't have to go from A to B to Z to D in order to get an issue solved. But I think this is something we can still be working on more, and we need to spend money on this. And it's especially difficult for international students who come here. I mean, fortunately, we have a great international office who solve issues that really have nothing to do with the international students per se, but they're just very competent. Not that the other departments of the university are not competent, but it's sometimes hard to find your way around. When I joined the university in 2009, I was very glad that my department has a very competent secretary who knows exactly what I need to do to book a room. But now think about students who want to do an event. We have great fairs organized by students here at the university. If you're new and you don't know how to go about booking a room, you better find someone who's done this before. So just because the institution is large, there's a certain degree of efficiency that we could be reached, and we're not there yet.
Is there a way to use your business students to both give them something interesting to do and to help the school?
Something we've done very successfully in the CEMS program, and I'm sorry I keep talking about this, but it's something I have a lot of experience with, is to use the feedback from students and maybe even allow them to work on consulting projects to identify issues and bottlenecks. Now, of course, in the very last point, the university and the department has to take some money into their hands and spend it on getting a professional solution. But I think something that students can do very well is identify bottlenecks from the student's perspective. Apart from that, I think that very often students really know what's missing and what we need in addition. So it used to be the case that we didn't have a lot of support for entrepreneurial students who wanted to pursue a degree and then come up with a smart business idea and just open up a startup. And a couple of years ago, 2 University of Cologne graduates came up with what's called the Hochschulgründernetzwerk, University Founders Network, and they actually offer support for startups from within the university. So it's something that was not imposed by the university, not imposed by the department, but students saw a need for that. They got support from the university in order to come up with this, and now we have this great network in place.
In a private university, there's a tension. To give a student a bad grade can be seen as poor customer service. I imagine things are different in a public university, but can you explain to me the difference?
I think in a public university you have different stakeholder groups. On the one hand, you have the students, and they are in a way the customer because they are coming here and they're making an investment into their education.
But they're not paying.
They are paying at a future date with their taxes. I mean, we live in a social state, so in some way there's a self-perpetuating process, right? We educate people to get good jobs, to go to the economy and to contribute to the welfare, to the social welfare at large. So the students are a stakeholder group, and we try to allow students to use their potential to the very best. Of course, part of the job is to differentiate between the good and the best students.
You talk about students as stakeholders, they don't pay. You talk about businesses as stakeholders, they're curious, they're interested, but if they don't take students from here, they'll take them from somewhere else. Who are the real stakeholders of the university? I
think it's society as a whole. It's really society as a whole, and you can't disregard students because they're a part of society. They are making an investment. They are foregoing current income for getting an education. The companies are paying taxes, so they are subsidizing the university indirectly, but it's society as a whole that has decided on making education, responsible education, a priority. And I think we as the employees of the university really carry the responsibility of, first of all, giving the students a good education, offering them educational pathways that allow them to fulfill their potential, give what they have to give and what they want to give in different ways. And then in the second step, I think that delegating this process or this responsibility as a stakeholder to society as a whole also means that students who otherwise would not easily get a university education because they're scared of having high student loans are not scared. They can come here, they can get the best education we have to offer, and really fulfill their potential. And I would not want to limit our school to students who are able to pay large fees, or those who are not daunted by getting large loans, by taking out large student loans.
You made a distinction between what students have to do for society and what they want to do. I can understand society subsidizing nurses, doctors, filling quotas for hospitals, schools, maybe even engineering. Business is a choice, and a lot of the motivation to do business can be personal profit.
Absolutely, there's nothing wrong in personal profit. I mean, I'm in finance. I find great motivation in people getting a decent profit out of what they do. I mean, who would open a business if they had to bring money with them? Probably wouldn't be a very sustainable model. But I think it would be wrong to say that students or entrepreneurs are only in it for the money. There needs to be a decent profit, but there also needs to be something that allows you to be socially responsible. And I see that in my students who go and take a job with Transparency International. Might not be as well paid as the investment banking job at Deutsche Bank, but no matter where you go, you can be a responsible citizen. One of the things that makes Cologne unique among our peers is that we've been recognized as one of the excellent universities. The federal government implemented an excellence initiative, and we were recognized in the last round as being a university with a larger vision. Now, you might say a vision is not something you want in an educational institution, but I would disagree. And what we've chosen as our motto, as our basically lead in this excellence in this excellence initiative, is meeting the challenge of complexity. And I think this is something that you'll find at all levels of the university. You will find it in the humanities, you will find it in the business department, you will find it in the medical school and in the law school. This is really something that unifies the university.